The things that you do repeatedly. What are those things? How can you automate some of that? How can you use AI for some of that perhaps? Or everything from scheduling to booking to communication, all that stuff can be taken off your hands so that you can do more of what actually needs you and less of the things that can be handed off. Standard operating procedures are key for sanity, for hiring. If you hire somebody that is doing something that now you once did, you can go, oh, here is exactly how to do it in the way that I want to do it. Here it is. It could be tough, but it can be very rewarding once you kind of nail those systems that you have.
Even if you are just starting out, you've got a perspective, you've got your experience, your story, you probably have an opinion, all of that stuff, you can bring that to the table. And even if you're not in the same industry, there is still something that you might just see in somebody's personality.
When you're in your shower, you have your best thoughts, you have your best ideas. Why? Because it's literally the only place in the world now that you have nothing else to do but just think. We no longer give ourselves that time to think anymore and go deeper with what we already have access to process. We're at this buffet line of information now, and we're stuffing our plates full. And we're getting force-fed by these algorithms. The way to make it work today is to transition from just-in-case learning, which is what we've been doing, to just-in-time learning. Finding the right information, just the right information from the right resource at the right time. Trusting that when you are ready for the next step, that information will be there. And by the time you need it, it's probably gonna be even better and more relevant.
On episode 465 of the podcast, we talk about why lean learning beats information overload and how to focus on just-in-time learning instead of just-in-case. We also go over the micro mastery technique that helped Pat earn over $500,000 in speaking fees despite being terrified of the stage, and how to productize your video services to scale beyond trading time for money. So much goodness in this episode. Here we go. What's up, my friend? Hey, welcome to the Grow Your Video Business Show. I'm your host, Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and I am so excited for this episode. So real quick, if you're brand new, welcome. I ask you to humor me. I started this education brand for filmmakers 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. And when I started my video production business in 2004, October, actually. Oh yeah, we just passed the 21-year mark. And from the very beginning, I surrounded myself with other people in video. I found out all the people that were local that were on the internet back in those days. And I had lunch. I took people out to coffee. I asked all the questions. I wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. I wanted to be the best video person, and surrounding myself with other people that were doing this work and not being afraid to ask questions, it served me super duper well. As soon as I found out that there were events, workshops, conferences, where other video production people were going, I was in. And then shortly thereafter, I found myself on stages, sharing some of the things that I was learning. Man, I have loved sharing what I learn as I go. I don't have, I was gonna say anything figured out. Maybe that's true. I have figured out a few things over 20 plus years of running a production business. In 2015, as I'm speaking, I was the president of our local video association here in the Metro Detroit area. And, we'd have these monthly meetings. I would bring people in from out of state to educate our filmmaker group. And I was like, man, if I could monetize this, and I would be able to justify spending more time in the education space, sharing what I've learned, helping people that are passionate and good in this business, but hate the business side of things, equipping them with more like business savviness so that they could do this work for a long time and charge what they're worth and not feel burnt out and stressed out and all of the things that come along with a creative running a business. And that's where the idea came to. I launched a course. I did it with my buddy Matt Davis, and we launched this course, How to Become a Corporate Filmmaker or something like that. And shortly thereafter, it was like, okay, like people were interested in it. I came from the wedding world, so we did tons and tons of wedding films. But then as I transitioned into corporate, I was charging more money. I wasn't having to work nearly as hard as I was in the wedding world. And people in the wedding world took notice and said, man, I would love to make money, outside of our busy season for weddings. Ryan, how are you doing this? So then this podcast was born. But before this podcast was born, I was listening searching for stuff online, and I found this guy named Pat Flynn who had a podcast called the Smart Passive Income Podcast. And I would hear him interview all of these people that had creative passive income opportunities, just all sorts of different businesses. And that is number one, I loved how he sounded, like in my ears. I'm like, this guy's mic, just everything. It sounds so good. And I had a new business idea every single week after listening to his show, which was not very helpful for somebody who already loves thinking about business and new ideas. Anyway, the next year, I started listening to him, I think in 2015. The next year is when the show launched, and I owe so much of my being here because of the kinds of content he was creating, but also I fell in love with how he did it. And there was a part of me that was like, I want to do what Pat's doing. And so all of that to say, today I do. I mean, this is not a passive income brand. There is some passive income, but mostly it's like, coaching, and there's a lot of work. If I'm creating a course, like a lot of work goes into it. So don't be misled that when people say passive income, it usually requires a lot of work. So, but I say all that to say, to get Pat on my show, this was like a dream come true. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much, or maybe half as much as I enjoyed interviewing him. It was really, really fun. I have a small pocket of business heroes, and Pat was one of them. So to get him on the show, definitely a bucket list item for me. So, okay, that's all. Thank you for humoring me. It's also the season for masterminds. So if you've thought about, this is the moment that you need to consider like taking the step. Go to the mastermind page, read all about it, apply if you think it might be a good fit for you. I would love to see you inside of the mastermind if this is the season for you. We launch it in January. We're gonna have a retreat at the beginning of the year to kick things off, to create connections. The groups are typically 12 or less people, so they are very intimate. And if you saw the chat thread, the text thread that we have with our groups, you would, the hashtag FOMO. It's just this beautiful, eclectic group of video business owners that are growing this thing and doing it together. So studiosherpas.com/mastermind, and you can learn all about the mastermind. Apply. We do an interview before the end of the year, and if it's a good fit, then you would be invited to join. So that's all I've got. Let's jump into today's episode. Here we go. What's up, friend? Hey, welcome to another episode of the show. I'm really excited about this one. Today, I say that with everyone, but this one is no exception. Pat Flynn, who is the CEO of Flindustries. He's a podcaster, only has like 100 million or so download. Did I get that right? 100 million? More,
we're pretty close to that, yeah.
Lots and lots. Millions of YouTube subscribers, keynote speaker, multiple author multiple times, most recently a New York Times best-selling author, which is incredible. And just I can't say the reason that this show exists, but probably like the impetus for this show, this microphone, me like desiring to sound so good. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Pat Flynn. I'm so happy to have you with us today, Pat.
Ryan, thank you for that warm welcome. I appreciate it. I know we can dive into a ton of topics today, so wherever you want to go, I'll follow your lead, my friend.
Okay. Well, let's just start right now. Just when you look at, you're just coming off a book launch. Are you still considered in book launch phase, or are we?
We are in post-book launch phase, but of course, still doing interviews. I don't want to just kind of do what many people do, which is launch the thing and then move on to the next. I used to have that problem, and I kind of am trying to combat that now. So I'm still doing interviews, talking about the topic. That's very important to me. So, but I do have a lot more time than I did 6 months ago. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, when you are in this like post-book phase, what's bringing you the most life, work, family, like whatever the things are, like now that you maybe have been able to take some breaths and reflect and be grateful and, hit that milestone, New York Times bestseller, like what's bringing you a lot of life right now?
Yeah, it's definitely the family stuff. The family did sacrifice a lot for me to get the book done and get it done in time. This was my first traditionally published book. So I had deadlines and certain things, which were great because they got
Yeah.
me to do things. But it also was like, okay, this is crunch time. I got to get things done, and of course, I'm not in full control. So there's certain things that the publisher wanted that I didn't want, but we'd have to meet in the middle. I was stressed. The family was dealing with that, but they all knew that. I've gone through this before. And one thing that I love to do in the family is every time I have some big sort of season of launch or something that, is going to take more of my time. I always try to counterbalance it with something that we're all going to do together as a family. So we've had for a very long time, ever since this book was ready to be put forth, a Disney cruise on the other end of it. And we just went on it a couple months ago down in the Caribbean, and it was incredible. The last time
Oh
we were on a
man.
cruise like that, my daughter was like 1 and she was 12, and she's 13 as of yesterday now. So I'm not having a lot more time with the kids, and I always think about how quickly they're growing up.
Oh
With
man.
my son, I only have 3 summers left with him, 5 with my daughter, and that I mean, they're the most important thing to my wife and I, and we're trying to just maximize those memories as much as possible.
Oh, dude, that's so rich. Counting the summers. Yeah, we didn't start doing that until a few years ago. We're like, wow, our oldest, Evan, we're like, we've got 3 summers left with him. And it was like, oh my gosh, like if we're going to do this trip or we're going to do this thing, like we got to do it like right now. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Dude, we just sent him to college. I have a freshman in college and it is just wild. So
that
I,
is insane.
I'm just grateful for this. When you have a business or you're just like busy in the thick of all of the things, it's really easy to lose focus on what's most important. And to even if the only thing that you hear in this conversation today is the importance of like step back and just remember like time is flying. And if you're not grabbing hold of the things that are the most important, it's like, what the heck are we doing? Ugh.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. We live in a neighborhood that has a lot of very ambitious parents,
Yeah.
and when we speak to a lot of them, they're like, "Oh, well, we want to make more money, and
Yeah.
because we want to spend more time with family, and ultimately, like, give our kids the life that they want." And we're like, "You could do that now. You could literally do that now. So is it really that?" And we like to push our friends to be the best version of
Yeah.
themselves. So having deep conversations, honest and
Yeah.
sometimes brutal conversations about that is key. And a lot of times we discover that, like, okay, well, yeah, you are doing this for your ego a little
Yeah.
bit, and it's good to know that so that we can
Mhm.
kind of get in front of that. But it's a lot of we don't want to be 65 and finally enjoying life. Like,
Yeah.
we can enjoy life now, and we can enjoy family now.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about, the kids especially, you see them growing, and literally every day they come back from school a little bit more adult than they were the day before.
Yeah. It's gross. It's like, stop. Like our 10-year-old, I'm like, your feet are like adult size. Like, this is not okay. Like, they used to be cute and little, and now they're just like big. What are you doing?
Yeah, and my son's feet smell.
Yes,
That's
yes,
the other
dude.
part of it.
My
The
son.
the the deodorant purchases have gone up for the last couple of years, that's for sure.
I love having those just real honest conversations. Because I think for a lot of us, it's you get caught up in the work that you forget the why. And
Mhm.
if somebody is very intentional and like, no, like we just want, I got a big ego and we need to make this amount because we just want to. It's like, okay, at least you're doing that for that purpose versus like, no, actually, I forgot. Oh my gosh, I've been traveling, I've been doing all this stuff, and I've been neglecting this relationship with my kids. And what am I doing? Thank you for the reminder. Having those, people that are very intentional and that can help us just remember, like, oh crap, I need to do something about this. I'm
Yeah.
curious to know with just work life balance, like when you're in a busy season, and this is I ask this because this is so relatable in especially not I shouldn't say especially, but in video production, you know, we work hard to book a client. We finally book the client. Then it's like, okay, we've got all this pre-production we need to do. And then we do production. It might be one day, it might be 3 days, 5 days, whatever. But then there's all this editing that's going to take forever. And, on a per project basis, there are certain seasons where it feels like I got to put in 80 hours. Like that is just like the reality of it, or at least that's the
Mhm.
reality that we tell ourselves. And then it can become just like a regular part of life. I'm working 60, 70, 8 hours a week. I'm married. I've got kids, and the family just they barely see. But I'm doing this for the family. We got to make the money. I got to get after it. What Two questions. What's like a normal like work schedule for you? Obviously, you're not in video. Well,
I do some video.
Yes, you do some video. But then, like, what's an ideal like work-life balance hours? Like, and when I say work-life, I mean just like, hey, these are your hours. You're specifically working, and then this is the amount of time that you want to be able to have available for family stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not normal. The cadence is not steady,
Yeah.
but I know that, and we work around that,
Yeah.
right? So, like I said, there's seasons of hustle and there's seasons of rest, and that's
Yeah.
important to have that season of rest and relaxation because
Mhm.
then you can come back into the next season of hustle, or the next few weeks of hard work with a client, for example, with gusto, with excitement, rather than just another one on top of another one on top of another one, right? When it comes to getting time back, however, I will say there's a lot of things that can be done to do that. Number one, just being cognizant of your work and how you do it and seeing if there are ways to become more efficient with it. I had run an experiment recently on TikTok and Reels and Shorts to create a video every day for 60 days, just kind of to see what would happen there. And in the beginning, my video editing time took 45 minutes to an hour for just a 60-second video of me opening a pack of Pokemon every single day. And now it's 10 minutes. And I can batch process all of that in one day. I can do an entire week's worth of stuff, and then I'm clear for the rest of the week, right? So consciously going in with just getting better. And of course, the more that you do it, the more that you consciously do it, the better and more efficient you could become. You learn the shortcuts and all these kinds of things. The other thing that can work to help you get more time back is knowing how to buy your time back with regards to team and people. And I've seen a lot of people, especially those who own agencies, do this the right way, where they hire the right people to do a lot of things that they could do themselves, yes, but they found people to do it better and faster. And so, of course, they're getting now more hours back, and time is money. There's a good book by Dan Martell called Buy Back Your Time, which is really, really great. I'd highly recommend that. However, on the flip side, I've seen other people who start agencies who then are now spending more time managing people. And they're not even doing the thing that they love anymore. They've become a people manager and absolutely hate what they do now because they lost touch with the craft, if you will. And so there's, again, dangerous territory in anything. And to your point earlier, it's maybe getting some help from the outside to see where you're at. People who are more experienced, who've gone through this before, who've already made the mistakes, getting in touch with them or getting in mastermind groups with them or connecting with a community like yours to be able to do that is important because you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. That is for sure. You cannot read the label when you are inside the bottle. For me, I try to structure my work week by days. I have certain days where I do certain things. Monday typically is my writing day. Tuesday is going to be my filming day. Wednesday is my meetings day. Thursday is sort of clean up anything that I didn't get done that I said I was going to get done day. And Friday I have off. We have a 4-day work week in our company at SPI. However, I've been using that Friday to kind of add new fun things, experiments. And for a while, it's been this Pokemon channel that I started that's kind of blown up. Before that, it was an invention. And I always like to have a way to contain my curiosity in 20% of my week so that I can still scratch that itch, but not have it take control over everything else. I still have my commitments that I'm doing. There are days and moments and seasons where I am staying up late and working on things and trying to crunch and get things done. And there are moments and days where I go without work because I'm not feeling it. And that's the beauty of things like batch processing and the kind of work that I do is I can get ahead on things. I can be a month or two ahead on the podcast. And if this week I'm just not in the moment, I'm just for whatever reason, or I'm sick or I'm traveling, I can just go, okay, I can be okay with that. And I'll do 2 next week when I'm feeling more energized, or 3 the week after that. So it's kind of understanding where your energy is at, using that, and trying not to fight it, but kind of work with it, if you will.
Yeah. I love that. Hey, quick timeout. If you're listening to this show because you want to grow your video business, but you feel like you're spinning your wheels, doing everything yourself, and you're wondering why it's not getting easier, listen up. I've been there multiple times throughout running this business. The bottleneck, feeling burnt out, the late night, what's next, panic, what did I forget? That's exactly why I started the Studio Sherpas Mastermind a few years ago. This is a small group of just 12 video business owners who are done figuring it out alone. Some members have doubled and even tripled their revenue. Others have hit over $1 million for the first time in business. In this group, we talk strategy, profit, We go over systems and hiring and mindset, all of the things that actually move the needle. So if you're serious about scaling your studio without losing your sanity, apply now at studiosherpas.com/mastermind. Don't keep doing this thing solo. The climb is a lot easier with Sherpas by your side. Again, it's studiosherpas.com/mastermind. All right, let's jump back into the show.
I do love that. And the challenge that, you book a production, it's like, it's on Thursday. It's like, it's happening like no matter what. Right. So there is this but being very proactive and saying like, okay, what about the other days that we don't have production? Is there flexibility? Like, can you give yourself time to recoup and to recover? When I first started, I kind of fell into wedding filmmaking like the first few months into the work, and we would sometimes triple book a weekend. So Friday wedding, Saturday wedding, Sunday wedding. And then my wife would be like, well, sweet, at least you're going to take Monday off. And I'm like, I got to go back to work. Like there was no, and that was just, man, that was a grind. And fortunately that was like super early in the business. And I also had a vision of like, no, we're going to have kids and I want to be available. Like I didn't really experience like growing up, like I'm going to be present. So I'm building this to get there, and I'm going to make some, it's going to take a little bit of time. And we did go through some therapy and counseling and stuff to, in the midst of that chaos, but it was never for me. It wasn't about pride or ego or like, oh, I gotta do this. It was like, no, like I'm doing this. I know what the end is in mind that I'm striving for, but it's hard. It's hard when you're in the middle of it and you're trying to build something, right?
For sure. I mean, having the end in mind is really key because you need a North Star. You need an address in the navigation, or else you're just going to kind of drive around wherever and eventually run out of gas, right? The other thing that's been really helpful, and I imagine could be very helpful for a lot of the listeners, are really honing in on the systems, the things that you do repeatedly. What are those things? How can you automate some of that? How can you use AI for some of that, perhaps? Or everything from scheduling to booking to communication, all that stuff can be taken off your hands so that you can do more of what actually needs you and less of the things that can be handed off. SOPs, or standard operating procedures, are key for sanity, for hiring. If you hire somebody that is doing something that now you once did, you can go, oh, here is exactly how to do it in the way that I want to do it. Here it is. It can be hard and it can be tough, but it can be very rewarding once you kind of nail those systems that you have.
On a completely unrelated note, when I first started listening to your show, I don't think either one of us had a beard. What changed?
COVID. COVID changed a lot of things. COVID, as terrible as it was a huge reset for a lot of people, myself and my family included.
Yeah.
I used to speak quite a bit, once or twice a month, and I'd be on the road and doing that, which I, again, enjoyed. But it was a little bit of my ego getting in the way of me wanting to get in front of people and meet people in person and do it that way. And once COVID hit and I couldn't speak, I realized, wow, the business still can continue despite me not having to go out on the road. Why am I doing this? The kids are getting older. I don't need to do it. So when things open back up, I chose not to speak as much. I maybe speak once or twice a year now, only because I have to, or the opportunities are worth the strain.
Yeah.
But in 2020, February of 2020, right before everything kind of hit the fan, right? I launched a new course. It was called Email Marketing Magic, and it was our best launch for any course that we've ever had. And because I was in that season of hustle during that time, I didn't have time to shave. I was just recording everything and getting things. Like, I had a beard by the end of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to keep this like a hockey player keeps their socks and without washing them, because it was really lucky. Like, this is my lucky launch beard. And I remember I went to an event in March in San Diego called Social Media Marketing World. It was just like coming out. It was like so itchy, dude. I hated it. But I was like, it's my lucky launch beard. We have another launch coming up in May, so I'm going to keep it until then. And then I just kept it, and my daughter liked it, and my wife is like, why are you doing that? But I don't know. It just eventually, after a year, I was like, I guess I'm keeping this thing. And it turned from my lucky launch beard to just the COVID beard and just now me. And eventually my team was like, Pat, you have to make a decision. You have to either shave this thing, because all your social media things, every picture we have, all your courses are you without a beard.
Yeah, right.
Or we just need to eventually rebrand to Bearded Pat. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize it made that much of a
Right.
difference like that way, but that makes sense. So we ended up changing everything and refilming courses because people would get those older courses, which were still valuable and feeling like they were out of date because it's like, oh, you look like you're 12.
Mhm.
So yeah,
That's so funny. I remember I started growing mine out when I turned 40. I had tried, but it was terrible. It's like a summer beard, like summer here and summer here, real patchy. We filmed well, we filmed like our brand video, but we had done it before I had a beard. And then literally the team was like, we're going to need you to shave. There's one section that we need you on camera to say. And I'm like, what the heck? I just like grew this thing out. So I shaved it. And then I came back again because
came back. Yeah. Oh, it looks good on you.
thanks, man. Thanks. And ditto. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
my wife feels the same. She thinks it looks good. She doesn't like sometimes, and this might be too much information, but sometimes it smells. I don't think it smells. She's like, are you drinking like rotten milk? Like what is going on? I'm like, no, it's fine. Like,
Hey,
just,
you know what? It could smell bad or it could smell good. It's up to you.
that's right. It's all,
Right.
yeah. Well, I want to talk about lean learning. This is your newest book. I'm assuming this is the New York Times bestseller. Yeah.
It is. It is. Yes. Thank you.
So cool. I have struggled with this concept. And I think that, as somebody that consumes podcasts and, I've got courses for filmmakers and there is so much stuff that it can feel overwhelming and it can also become like kind of a part-time job to like feel like you need to stay on top of all the things and do all of the things. What was the marker for you? Like, when was the light bulb? When did that go off where you said like, this needs to be addressed. We need to talk about this.
A part of it was my kids, actually, as they got into middle school and high school, they wanted to learn everything. And I'm like, this is great. I was encouraged. So this is great. Like, let's scratch that curiosity. But then it was like literally everything. So much stuff that they were just getting overwhelmed, that they never really took action on anything.
Yeah.
They never went down the rabbit hole that they wanted to because there were so many rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And the hard thing is, especially for the kids and for all of us now, I mean, I don't admire them in the era that they're growing up in. It's so much more difficult than when you and I grew up. When you look up something that you're curious about on YouTube, even if you're just an inkling of curiosity, you're going to be force-fed so much information about that from that point forward, right? Because of the algorithms. And it's going to be good stuff. It's going to be stuff that has great titles and thumbnails, and it's going to be like, oh, I guess I need to watch this, right? And because those algorithms know more about you than you know about yourself. And it's crazy. We are not evolved to absorb this much info. We're just not. Information at one point used to be valuable, right? If you were the smartest kid in the class, you were going to be the most successful. If you had information, you were more powerful. No longer.
Yeah.
It's like, do you remember Encyclopedia Britannicas?
Of course. All the
It's
rich
like-
kids had those.
Yes, exactly. It's like they
we
could
did
afford-
not. We did not.
They could afford information. They were smarter because they could afford it. Now we all have access to literally the same information on our phone.
Yep.
However, we still treat it like it's a scarce food source, right? Imagine like caveman days, you come across a carcass or like some bush with food and you're like, I'm going to hoard it all because it's survival. You might not come across another one for a while, so I need to store up. That's what we do with information. It's why when we go in the car, we have to have a podcast on. We have to have an audiobook playing, or else we feel what? We feel like we're wasting our time by not filling it in with this new stuff. There's a reason why it's called shower thoughts. When you're in your shower, you have your best thoughts. You have your best ideas. Why? Because it's literally the only place in the world now that you have nothing else to do but just think. We no longer give ourselves that time to think anymore and go deeper with what we already have access to process, right? Which is why this is going to sound weird, but when I'm in the car now and I'm driving, bro, I raw dog it in the car. I don't have anything play. And it's weird, number one, because I'm like, oh, my car makes that sound. I never heard that sound before. I guess that's normal. But number two, I can start thinking about the things that are going on and process them and understand them and get creative about the things that are exciting about me versus being told about this new exciting thing. And that squirrel syndrome starts to kick into play. And that FOMO of, oh, this person's talking about this. I need to go do that now when I already said yes to this. So we're at this buffet line of information now and we're stuffing our plates full. and we're getting force fed by these algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
The way to make it work today is to transition from just in case learning, which is what we've all been doing, to just in time learning. Finding the right information, just the right information from the right resource at the right time.
Mm.
Trusting that when you are ready for the next step, that information will be there. And by the time
Yeah.
you need it, it's probably going to be even better and more relevant. But it's so hard because we are fighting against those natural urges to consume everything, right? They even call it consuming information, like you're consuming food, digesting information. We are obese with information right now. Find the right thing for the next step that you're doing. Take action on that and learn from that, from what actions you take and the mistakes that you make, right? Fail faster. Fail just means first attempt in learning, and go from there. And that's really what I'm trying to impart on my kids and all of us, my students,
Yeah.
is that especially in this world that's now AI driven, real learning and progress will come from not how much information you know, but how well you can put it to use.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, if for our kids, especially, it's like when I went to university, it was like, hey, we're going to teach you how to think, and that still applies. It is still so relevant today. If we're not teaching our kids or ourselves like how to think better, it's like that's just not winning. I love the idea of being in the car and just being quiet. I remember when I worked at summer camp for 2 summers, I was borrowing a friend's car and the radio broke, and it was like a 2.5 hour car ride.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm in college and I'm like, I just want to listen to some tunes. But just knowing that, I had so much time to think and process. I saw an Instagram reel recently, and I can't remember who the person is. But they said something like, you're at a party and somebody says like, oh, what's that one thing? And somebody's like, let me just look it up real quick. There's no room for wonder anymore. And it's like, wow, that is fascinating to think about, because just like so much where the conversation can go and where our brains can go when we have time, when we make space to wonder, it's like we don't have that naturally anymore. The inclination is like, well, let's just get the answer. Like,
Yeah.
let's
Or let's
stop
go
trying
to
to guess.
ChatGPT to tell me what to do and hand off literally every level of thinking to a robot. The kids are doing that now. They're
Yeah.
just like, okay, well, how do I approach this girl? Well, let me ask
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
What?
Let's let ChatGPT just ask her this question.
Yeah.
Would you like to
And then
talk?
she'll use ChatGPT to be like, how do I respond to this boy? And then the ChatGPTs will just date each other.
Oh, what would you say? Like, is there anything after writing Lean Learning? Is there anything that you're like, oh shoot, I wish I would have included this? Does that happen as you write books?
It does. But I've had 4 years to write this thing. I was very thorough with the research and the stories within it. I would say that there were certain parts of the book that I didn't know people would really gravitate towards.
Yeah,
You never really
yeah.
know until you put it
That's
out
what I
there.
wanna
So a
know.
lot of people have been resonating with my chapter on micromastery, actually. And micromastery is taking this big thing that you're learning about, um, finding all the little bits and pieces around like that make up that thing, and find one little piece and just mastering that.
Mm.
And I didn't tell this story in the book, but I had a friend of mine who is an ultra marathon runner. And this is a story that came out as a result of people wanting to talk more about it, and
Right.
this story resonates with people. So my friend is an ultra marathon runner, and he runs like 50 miles a day. I don't know why. That's just what he does. And I called him one day, and at his house was a film crew. And I was like, "Oh, are you like filming a documentary or something?" No, like these guys have like the phantom slow-mo camera that shoots, I don't know, like 20,000 frames per second or something like that, right? So he was filming the way that his heel hit the ground. And he hired this crew for like thousands of dollars to come in just to kind of film the way his stride was going. And I was like, "Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Well, if I can get even 1% of an improvement on just how my heel hits the ground and the transfer of energy and all this other stuff, mathematics, then across 100,000 steps, like imagine how much faster I'll be in my next race." I was like, wow, that's incredible. Like there's so much with running, there's breathing, there's what you do with your arms, there's like the diets, and you're
Yeah.
focusing on literally just how your heel hits the ground, but over the course of an entire marathon, and that's going to make a big deal. And so this is like really important when it comes to learning anything, is that if you want to be a better anything, find the compartments or components of it and pick one, and for a period of time, hyper focus on it.
Yeah.
And so I did this when I learned how to become a public speaker. I was a terrible public speaker. I was definitely afraid of the stage, but I wanted to learn. I knew it was good for my career, and I knew it was a skill that I should improve on. So I hired a coach, and that was really helpful. Getting mentorship is very key. But after I worked with the coach, I said, you know what? I want to get better at all of this, but I can't get better at all of it at the same time. It's like if you imagine a conductor of a band, the way to get better at songs is not by playing the song 100,000 times over and over and over again. They find a part that's the trombones are messing up in this part, and they have the whole band stop, and they go, okay, trombones, just measures
Yep.
35 to 45, go. Okay, stop. Jimmy, just you, because that run is a little off.
Mhm.
Jimmy, go. Jonah, go. They all have J names. I don't know why, but Janice, go. And then you work on that until it's good, and then now you move on to the next part that's messed up, right? Where the trumpets have this fanfare over here that's kind of wonky.
Mhm.
That's how we can approach these things. So the way that I approached public speaking was, okay, in this next talk, I'm going to focus on just the first 30 seconds and what I'm going to say as soon as I get on stage. The rest of it, I'll improve on that later. I know where I'm going in the presentation, but I want to really hone in on the first 30 seconds. So what did I do? I watched 100 TED Talks, but not all of them. I just watched the first 30 seconds of each of them.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
asked people what they would recommend, and I found experts who knew exactly how to capture attention on stage, and I just focused on that. Another presentation later on, I focused on just what do I do with my hands? So I watched TED Talks and all these public speakers, not caring about what they said, but just what do they do with their hands? How do they use their hands to emphasize certain things or to make people feel like this thing you're saying is a little bit more vulnerable, and these
Mhm.
like tricks and things that you can learn that can stack and stack and stack and stack. And all of a sudden, you're getting paid now 5 figures to present when before you were deathly afraid, which is I've earned over $500,000 in speaking on stage now since I was deathly afraid of doing it back in the day. So that's micromastery in action. And that is an incredible way to get better at anything, not by just doing all of it, which can be very overwhelming, but by hyper focusing on something so specific for a short period of time. And again, finding the right resource for the right time for the right thing.
Mhm.
And again, that's kind of lean learning in process.
Yeah, I love that. It reminds me of when I was faced in my production business. I had went from not knowing how to use a camera or light an interview or do anything like that to, 10 years later, I was like pretty good at it. And man, the like some stuff, I would get some shots. I'm like, this is amazing. This looks really, I can't believe I captured that. But and I was able to charge like next to nothing when I started, and then we're charging tens of thousands of dollars for some of these wedding films. But I got to a point in the quality of the work where it's like I can't keep improving. My filmmaking is only going to increase like incrementally, and I'm not going to be able to charge it more a lot more for I don't know how to exactly say that, but
Mhm.
for what I was learning in filmmaking, it wasn't going to allow us to grow the business. And then that's when I started to say, well, what if I focused on the business side of what we're doing and try to
Yeah.
figure out the things there? And so I would say that's what I love about what you're sharing here, because for so many of us, we get frustrated. We don't have as many leads as we want. We're not closing as big of deals as we want. And it gets hard to run a business when you're in that spot. And so I would just encourage you to take one of those things. Is it you don't have enough leads, or when you do have leads and you're having discovery calls, you're not closing as many, or you are closing a lot, but you're just not closing for the amount that you need to be, that you really want. Like pick one of those and focus on that and really just figure out like who is doing it, who is already doing what I want
Yeah.
to do, and lean into those conversations or communities or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. If you want to learn how to charge more and feel comfortable doing that, listen to the episode with Chris Do and
Mm,
the way that he talks about how to
yeah,
position himself as a creative and artist when, selling his services.
yeah,
If you're looking for leads, maybe you hyper focus on literally email marketing for the next 2 weeks. Who's doing email marketing? Who's
yeah.
killing it? How are we writing subject lines? And yeah, you're not going to do that forever, and you might hate it, but at least it's for a specific period of time with an end date, so you can master it and move on to the next thing, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so in the beginning, yeah, it's going to be hard, and you got to be a disaster before you become the master. But I think the best way to do that is incrementally, and through these sort of hyper focuses.
Yeah, that's really good. I want you to talk a little bit about the importance of community, like how you've experienced, how has community impacted the work that you do, and just I would even go as far as to say fulfillment, life fulfillment.
Yeah. It's so important for I mean, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the people that I'm around. And there's different kind of categories, if you will, of compartments of people. So there's the friends and family, the people who provide the sort of emotional support. My wife was very, very important for us being here because when I got laid off from my architecture job in 2008, she was the sort of person who kind of supported me. Like she was stability during that time. And she had no idea what I was doing in the world of entrepreneurship, trying to make things work, but she was there to provide support mentally and emotionally, which was key. And there's going to be a lot of friends and family around you that will support you, and great. They're not going to understand what's going on, but that's important to have. And if you don't have the friends and family to support you, which some don't, I had a lot of friends and family tell me to go get a real job once I started becoming an entrepreneur. And, I just didn't listen to them. I didn't surround myself around them. I surrounded myself with people who would lift me up. Some of those people were my peers and colleagues, people who were in the trenches with me, going through the same motions, some further ahead, some a little behind where I was at. But these were the people who would hold me accountable. They were like my gym partner who would get me to go to the gym early in the morning, metaphorically, when I didn't even want to get up. These are the people who I would help when they didn't want to get up, right? This sort of mastermind situation where we can all support each other and share tips with one another. And I think the important thing around that was realizing that we do live in this world of abundance where if it's not like a poker table, right? Where Ryan, if you're winning, that means I'm losing. Or if I'm winning, that means you're losing. That's how a lot of people approach business and life. And it's just not a healthy way mentally to go through it. And it's not providing you the most opportunity because we can all help each other where we're all winning. And there's like chips flying onto the table from who knows where. But when we both kind of stepped forward to serve this audience, there's more chips that just magically appear. And so we can all win. That's how I like to see it. And so these peers and colleagues are really key. And putting yourself in communities where those people exist, which they're there, they're on Facebook, they're on Circle, they're with you, they're with on Reddit, they're in conventions and conferences. Put yourself where those people are, and you will find your people there, right? And then finally, you have your mentors, and either virtual mentors who from afar or the personal mentors who will take you under their wing, whether you pay for that access or not. That can be key because those people will hold you accountable to your specific actions. Those people have gone through those things before and will give you a plan for it to get out of those the trenches. And then also, when you start sharing your goals, those are the people who will motivate you to have at it. Um, the communities that I'm a part of now are really key because, like I said earlier, you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle.
Right.
But it's important also for having people to teach. And the best way to learn is also to teach. And when you have more access to more people, you can help them, but also help yourself at the same time. I had a friend of mine who lives in Hawaii who was learning how to play the ukulele, which is like, if you're in Hawaii, you got access to the best ukulele instructors, right? Like world class, obviously. And so he was taking some lessons and he told me that his instructor, who again is this world class instructor, after a couple lessons, told my friend to now teach his son, my friend's son, how to play the ukulele. And my friend was like, I'm not qualified to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Like I've just learned a few chords and like that's why I hired you. But the instructor knew cleverly that by him teaching his son, he would teach him it in a way that then would absorb into him and be able to better understand these chords. Right. So he taught his, like, I think 10-year-old son to play a couple chords, but because he had to explain it to a 10-year-old, he was able to absorb that information at the same time and never forget which chords were which and how to play certain things that would then stack into the next lessons that the instructor would give him. So I thought it was really clever. And of course, we've heard that before. The best way to learn is to actually teach. This is how I was able to extrapolate and actually define what lean learning is because I was forced to write this book. Well, I wasn't forced to, but I chose to, and then I was forced to from the publisher's perspective. But it got me out of my seat to then be able to create these frameworks, which I was always living by. I just had never defined it before. But now that I've better defined it for others, it's even better defined for myself too. And, hopefully, again, we're at a place where everybody can win with that information. So it's been really neat to see how other people have played a role in my success and how I can help others in theirs. And it makes me think back to when I got laid off and I wanted to do business. It was like I didn't want community. I didn't want it. I was scared. I was wanting to hide behind my keyboard. I didn't realize the value in what others could bring to the table. And I also didn't realize the value that I had to bring to the table either. It took time for me to realize that I had something that I could offer too.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I run a couple of masterminds, and part of that application process, the thing that people are hesitant to apply because they feel like they're like, man, I'm still like pretty new in my business. And I always say, like, the stipulation is you join not just to receive, but also to give. And if you're not willing to give, like, this isn't the right place for you. But also remember, even if you are just starting out, you've got a perspective, you've got your experience, your story, you probably have an opinion, all of that stuff. You can bring that to the table. And even if you're not in the same industry, there is still something that you might just see in somebody's personality that is like, dude, the reason you're not getting sales is because of the way you talk. Like, you sound like Ryan. Like, what are you thinking? So I love that. I love the idea that, when you can not just approach this as like, hey, what do I have to learn here? But it's like, you've got something really powerful that you can offer and give.
Yeah. Yeah. And just give it a shot. Like, what have you got to lose? But you have so much more to gain.
I'm curious, what do your kids say that you do for work?
Currently, they say that I'm a YouTuber.
Okay.
Which I think is because if you ask any kid what they want to be when they grow up, a lot of them will say a YouTuber. And so because it's one of the things I do, so my son will say entrepreneur as well and mention that. But I am now pretty well known, especially across many of the younger folk, but also a lot of older folk too, for my Pokemon YouTube channel. So I started this channel in 2020. Actually got the kids involved, and they're actually employees of my company now, which is kind of cool. But they're on camera every once in a while, and I go around collecting Pokemon cards, trying to finish sets in certain amounts of time. This channel grew to 100,000 subscribers in 11 months after that began, and then is now approaching 2 million subscribers. And it's provided basically a second income for us to kind of invest into their futures and that kind of thing, which has been wild. But I'm getting recognized in public now, not for SPI,
Right.
but for Pokemon.
Which is like, wait, what?
It's crazy. And then the Shorts TikTok Reels experiment that I did earlier, that I talked about earlier, that I was attempting to try for 60 days. I did that to kind of show lean learning in progress and to kind of see how I could do that and take some of the teachings inside of the book. And, one of the things is, like, if you're trying to do something, give yourself a number of days to do it. So there's an end. But that way you're giving yourself the best chance. So I said 60 days because, the goal was to get to 60 days. I can control my recording and uploading. I can't control the views. So the win wasn't views. The win was getting to day 60. And by day 30, I wasn't getting a lot of views. I was, however, seeing a lot of results. My editing time went from 45 minutes to an hour to now 12 minutes. I had 30 points of data to use to see what was working better or not. And on day 35 of this experiment, again, I didn't link to it from anything. I didn't put my face on it or anything. Day 35, one of those videos hit 750,000 views, and the whole thing just exploded. And now across those 3 platforms, I'm seeing 10.1 million views a day.
It's just wild.
So again, getting well known. There's even a jingle that I put in that, because as a podcaster, I'm like, I want to brand this thing with audio. So I have a jingle put in that little short. It's called "Should I Open It or Should I Keep It Sealed?"
It's funny, dude.
Which has gone kind of famous, and people have used in parodies. There was a guy who is like a weight loss guy, and he was using it as a jingle when he was grabbing for like chips. He was like, "Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?" There was a guy who used it in a rave, like in his set in front of 15,000 people. And my favorite one was the guy who happened to use my jingle while looking at a coffin at a mortuary that he worked at. Should I open it or should I keep it sealed? And yeah, it's just gone it's the most viral thing I've ever done. And again, it only happened because my goal was day 60. I like count uploads, not likes, as my buddy Alex says. And that's huge for any sort of experimentation that you do. It's like the results will come one way or another, but control the thing that you can control, which is you showing up and hitting record and hitting publish. And even if that didn't work in terms of views after 60 days, I'm 4 times faster now in my editing. I now understand how those platforms work. I can now offer that advice to other people. It's never a fail, really, if you learn from it.
I love that. We're almost at time, but I want to find out, let's say you run a video production business, you're a service-based business, let's say you're a one-person show. What opportunity do you see for us that are in this business?
Yeah, so one of my favorite ways to scale, because you only have so much of you to give. There's only so many hours in the day, and you only have so
Right.
much energy, right? So when a lot of people feel that scaling means and growing and adding more revenue means just like working more. And when you are directly tied to your work and you get paid per hour, then yes, of course, that's how you make more
Right.
money. You do more work. So we have to kind of remove ourselves as much as possible from that, which means A, either do the work faster or find a way to be more efficient with it. B, like we were talking about earlier, have somebody else do some of that work to take it off of your plate. Or C, finding other ways to provide value that don't require as much work. And so one way that I know a lot of other service-based businesses have done that is to, in a way, productize their service. What that means is you kind of create packages around things that have minimal customization on top of it,
Mm.
right? So let's say, for example, I can't think of one for video, but a website designer, right, who is used to creating custom websites for all their clients, right, which requires so much time and energy and back and forth. Well, okay, cool. You still have that, but you're going to charge way more for it, right? So it kind of adds a little bit of a filter on there, and you get more money. You might even get the same amount of money by working with less people, right? Just simply by increasing your rates, which, by the way, is probably the number one thing most people can do because most of us undervalue what we have to offer, especially beginners. But number two, and this is actually a real case study guy, Brian Casel, Casel, from Productize. This is his story. He did these website designs and was doing them for all kinds of people. And then he said, you know what? I'm just going to do website designs for restaurants.
Mm.
And I'm only going to have 5 designs that they could choose from. So I'm going to make these things and I can still customize them. I can still put their
Yeah.
name and logo on
Yeah.
them. But in general, 80%, they're already done. And I can turn them around in a day versus weeks. And I can sell those maybe for a little bit less, but I can sell more of them to more people. And now it becomes something that becomes much, it's productized. You're turning now your service into a product. But that also then anchors the price of the custom stuff. Well, okay, if you want totally custom stuff, okay, I'm happy to do that, but it's going to cost you because
Mhm.
I put all my time and effort into making sure it's the best possible for you. If that's not possible for you, here are 5 other options, and you can actually get it right now. And that's kind of where I would keep my head at. Now that might be
Yeah.
difficult or harder in the world of video, but maybe not. There might be some packages that you can include that already have certain templates or other things available or services. The other thing that works really well, I will say, is add-ons or upsells. So if you have a client, your best bet to make more money is not to find necessarily more clients, but to better serve, or as I like to say, upserve that client of yours.
Nice.
So what else could you include on top of that that could be maybe something that is a little bit more templatized or productized for people who do choose that? Maybe it is a custom music package along with the wedding video that you partner with somebody who is a musician on, and you tack on that service, you share the revenue. It's just they are making the music, you're just the person who adds that level of service on to the wedding video, and now you're making 50% of what that musician's earning when they wouldn't have gotten that lead. So again, just thinking off the top of my head, but what other things could you include? Or for your couple, could you send them an automated email 6 months down the road, checking up on them and going, hey, by the way, in case you didn't know, I also do photography for newborns. And, when
Oh,
the
baby.
time comes, if you're having a family, I'd love to help and serve you with that. Or I know a photographer who
Yeah.
can do that for you, who I would recommend. And by the way, I earn an affiliate revenue for anybody I push their way.
Right.
So there's other ways. And I think it always comes down to what could I do to better serve the
Yeah.
people I'm serving?
Yeah.
Upserving those who are already with you, and or maybe serving more people through some productized services who wouldn't be able to work with you otherwise.
100%. Love that. So good. Pat, this has been so fun. What a joy. What a
Thank you so
treasure
much,
for
Ryan.
me to be able to get time with you. Obviously we'll link to the book, all the books. How can people follow along on the Pat Flynn journey?
Yeah, thank you. At Pat Flynn on most social media channels, or smartpassiveincome.com is the website with all the businessy stuff on it, and everything else, the podcast and YouTube channel and stuff are linked there. But yeah, thank you again, Ryan, for having me. This has been great. Such a fun conversation, and I hope this was valuable to everybody who's listening.
Love it. Appreciate you. Thank you very much, my friend.
Cheers. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Grow Your Video Business podcast. If you got something out of today's conversation, do me a favor, share it with a friend or post it on your socials. Tag me at Ryan Coral or at Grow Your Video Business. I'd love to know what resonated with you. If you've got a question or a takeaway, drop a comment wherever you're listening or watching this. You can also shoot me a message. I read every single one. And hey, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. We've got more stories, strategies, and behind the scenes insights coming your way to help you build a business that you love. Keep creating, keep sharing your story, and keep showing up. I'm cheering you on. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time.